Hi everyone. I hope all of you are able to hear me and see my screen. Can you please confirm? There is an option on the GoToMeeting panel for raise hand. If you can click on that, I'll understand that you're able to hear me and see my screen. Can you confirm, please? Hello. Lorenzo, can you hear me?
Yes, now I can hear you.
All right.
Thanks.
Srinivasa, can you hear me? You're muted from your end, I guess. Can you? I've unmuted you. Srinivasa, can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm able to hear you. What's your good name?
Emmanuel?
Oh, hi, Emmanuel. Yeah, actually, I was listening your last recorded video session, so am I in the listening mode, or I'm in a position to arise any questions?
For you to ask questions, you will have to click on that raise hand option on the GoToMeeting.
Where is that? I don't see.
On the panel, there'd be a raise hand option.
Okay, I don't see somewhere.
So when you click on that, I'll have an option here to see that you want to ask questions. Right? So majority of time it is muted for your end because you've joined in as an attendee. But once you register, they'd give you organizer privileges.
Okay, so.
But if you have any questions, go ahead and type it in the chat. If you have questions, type it in the chat menu. I'll go ahead and unmute you.
Oh, okay. So now it's not unmuted, right? Now I'm able to answer, right?
Right. Right now I've unmuted you. That's why you are able to.
Okay. So there was not given any instructions to register somewhere. So.
Right. I'll let you know. Okay.
Okay.
All right. I don't know if all of you were there for the demonstration session, but what we are going to do right now is basically start off with the basics of what we need for this training. I hope all of you know that we were looking into understanding. Just a moment. We were looking into understanding BW on Hana, and then we were also looking at addition of BW 7.5 on top of Hana, right? And so, in case if you missed the demonstration, basically the first part of what we do in this training will be from a HANA perspective. I would want to let you understand about what exactly happens on the HANA front in terms of column stores, in terms of the architecture, in terms of the models that exist on HANA. And then we come back into BW. All right. So let's basically start off with that side of it. I just want to know about each of you. The experience you have in terms of, let me unmute you. Lorenzo, you have some experience from BW?
Yes, I have worked many times with PW getting some reports.
All right, cool, thanks. Do you have any HANA exposure?
No?
Okay.
Any experience with Hana at all?
Okay. Srinivas?
Yeah, actually, like I have like worked on the SAP BW on the 7.1. It's like 3 to 4 years ago. But after that, I worked as like a manager, and it's completely different project, not with SAP. And the last 1.5 years, I've been in a master's program. I've been into the IT area from almost like 20 years, 21 years. I've been working.
Okay.
But like BW skills, I need to brush up for like a week or so to come with like a really like took up to the speed. So are we covering in this course HANA as well as BW part also?
We're covering, and then we get into BW on HANA, not regular BW.
No, I'm not asking regular BW. See, what are the comparisons, like how to what are the differences between like InfoCubes and DSOs in BW, and what are the changes to be made over here and everything, like the major highlighted differences?
I will be touching on that, yes.
Okay. Okay.
Mahan, can you hear me? I think you're muted from your end.
Yes, I can hear you now. Can you hear me now?
I can. So,
Yes.
do you have BW experience?
No, I don't have a BW experience.
Okay. Warehousing knowledge?
Sorry?
Warehousing knowledge?
Sorry, I didn't get you.
Do you have any warehousing knowledge?
Yeah, warehousing knowledge I have.
Okay.
I have a knowledge in HANA also. I'm a HANA certified,
Okay.
but I didn't get a chance to work on SAP. But
Okay.
I'm new to SAP, but I got certified in HANA. I undergone training and I got certified in HANA.
Okay.
So I would like to learn BW also.
Just give me one quick moment, please. So once you register, you will have access into this particular server. You will have access into all the components that are there on this server. Just to let you know, We have the SAP HANA Studio, we have data services, business objects, we have SAP BW on HANA, ECC, SLT, and all of these are available on this server. All right. This is an integrated server, and you will pretty much feel like you're on a production system itself. Now, today, what I'm going to give you an overview about basically why we need BW on HANA at all. Right? If you have seen my demonstration, you will have an idea about what I'm going to talk, or it might be a little repetitive for somebody who's already heard. Now, all of you are warehousing specialists, so I don't really have to go into the very detail of it. And just to give you an overview, in SAP we have two kinds of systems. One is the OLTP system, which is called as ECC, or Enterprise Central Component, which is one of the most common systems that we use for transaction systems. It is called as ECC, Enterprise Central Component. Now, this is the phase of the system where all the transactions happen. All the business runs on these systems, right? Be it your finance, sales, HR, any other functionality of the enterprise runs on this system, right? You might also have a CRM system or an SRM system, basically. And the basic thing that happens on these systems is they are the face for all the business. All the business happens from these systems, which basically bring about all the data into the underlying database on this particular application. ECC is an application, and it uses underlying database like Oracle, or you could use SQL, or sometimes even Hana, right? So all the daily transactions happen here, and all the data is collected based on your transactions in this particular system. It has application tables as well. But at the basic idea is to get the gist of what has happened in that specific day, you need to have an organized way of how you want to see your data. That is not possible on the ECC system. And if you have to do something, you will have to go ahead and write some kind of a reporting or some kind of a code, which is not so simple in terms of using it on top of ECC. So usually there is no reporting system directly on top of ECC. You will have a separate analytics system, and that analytics system is what we call as BW. It has the OLAP engine, and this is our OLAP solution for SAP, where all your reporting is handled on the BW front. All right. BW also is an application. It uses an underlying database where you could have either Oracle or SQL or Hana, right? Now, the process of once you bring in all the transaction information on the ECC system, if you want to organize it, if you want to generate some analytics or reporting for that information, you will have to move all of that data into the BW system through the process called as extraction, right? And then you load that into BW, and then BW also has a reporting area which is called as the Business Explorer, or we call it in short as BEX. So this is the basic process that has always been there. But there is a lot of disadvantage in using this scenario, basically for the fact that you cannot use the data that is right now operational into BW, which means that you will have to wait till the end of the day and then process the data into BW. Now, what happens because of that is you always fall back by a delay of at least 12 to 24 hours before which you can see your data. Your data is actually processed here, let's say yesterday. You will not be able to see your report until today morning. right? So all the reports that you see is pretty much stale, meaning you're always looking at information from yesterday, which basically doesn't give you a lot of advantage in terms of competitive customers or competitive clients. Now, your advantage comes only when you are able to go ahead and see your data at real time. And for that, you have the solution from Hana, right? Now, the real-time processing basically allows you a real-time engine, which is basically SAP HANA, which is a solution both from an appliance perspective and a database perspective, right? SAP HANA is called as a hybrid database and also a real-time database. And let's try and understand a little bit of what this particular system has the capability of. Now, HANA, the front, is called as an appliance. An appliance is a combination of both hardware and software. The hardware is provided by SAP's partner vendors, and this could include partners like Dell, HP, Fujitsu, and NEC, and all of these who prepare very high-end servers for SAP. All right, they actually create blade servers, and the software is provided by SAP, which has the ability to consume all of this power that is generated by these servers and optimally use this with the SAP. So what is special about HANA? What is different in terms of HANA as an appliance or as a database? The biggest difference that you will find in HANA is that HANA is an in-memory database. All right, it's an in-memory database, and so when I say in-memory, the basic difference of storage is what happens in here. Now, either Oracle or SQL or any other database stores data on the hard drive, right? Whereas SAP HANA stores the data on the main memory, which is RAM. So all the data that is collected for HANA is not going back into the database, but it's getting stored on the RAM. Now, by now you would have understood the advantage that RAM is something that doesn't really need any time for processing. It's something that is able to process and give you data immediately. It's almost like cache memory, so there is no wait time. In terms of database, you will have to search for your data, you'll have to look at the segments, the sectors, and all that, and then bring the data back. But RAM is something that is like almost 300,000 times faster than a regular hard drive. So you will have a lot of speed in terms of using HANA. Along with it, the kind of servers that we use have multi-core architecture and then blade servers, and all of these cumulatively add to the performance of this particular system. As an appliance, HANA has the ability to process data really, really fast. But HANA, at the heart of it, is still a database. A database cannot process data by itself. You will have to push data into SAP HANA. And so you will need a transaction system, or you will need a basic web service on top of HANA for data to be put into the HANA database. I hope you're understanding what I'm saying. So HANA is a database, and so you cannot process data, it cannot process data by itself. You need to have either an application on top of it, or you need to process data into HANA using an ETL. So the advantage of HANA is that it can process data really fast. So you will have to feed it with data, right? And for doing that, you could use it alongside your transaction system, but you will have to feed the data from your transaction system into HANA. Now, for doing that, if you want to really have the entire advantage of HANA, the ETL that you're using with HANA system should also be able to deliver data at real time. And so here we have from SAP a couple of real-time and near real-time ETL tools. One is called as SLT. SLT stands for SAP's Landscape Transformation, right? It stands for SAP's Landscape Transformation Server. And the second one is Business Objects Data Services. These are the two ETLs that are primarily used in the industry for moving data from a transaction system into the SAP HANA system, right? Guys, I am going to unmute all of you, but I'd want you to mute it from your end so that you can ask your questions whenever, all right? So make sure that you go ahead and unmute yourself, or basically go ahead and mute yourself so that there's not a lot of sound from your end, all right? All right, so getting back to what we were talking about. So the transaction system is where all your data is actually processed, meaning all your daily business transactions happen. And for you to go ahead and bring them into HANA, you need some kind of an ETL process, which basically takes data either as is from your system and sends it to HANA, or some kind of a transformation can be applied before you move it into HANA. SLT is a real-time system which allows you to go ahead and process data at real time. It has the transformation capability, but you need to know some ABAP for you to handle transformation. Whereas data services is a near real-time system. I call it a near real-time system because you cannot do a real-time transformation and real-time data movement from ECC into HANA. You will have to schedule batch jobs which run probably every half an hour. So that allows you to process data into HANA almost at near real time. For every half an hour, your system is refreshed. All right. So once data moves in here, this is where all our modeling capability in HANA comes into picture. And that part of it, we call this as native HANA. Native HANA is where we're going to directly work on the HANA database itself. All right. HANA does not have a proprietary reporting tool. It allows you to use different reporting tools on top of it to basically process and visualize data to the end user. All right. It uses a lot of business objects reporting tools and also non-SAP reporting tools on top of HANA. Now, just to bring a comparison between what we have learned all this while on BW and what we have on HANA, let me compare. All right. First thing, BW also is a three-tier architecture, which means that you will have 3 layers in terms of the architecture. The first layer is your database layer, where your data is stored. The second is the application layer. And then you have the third layer, which is the presentation layer. So this is your database layer. This is your application layer. And then this is your presentation layer. Now the way how it works is from the presentation layer is where you can go ahead and do your inputs into the system. If you want to go ahead and ask the system to do a specific process, or you want to fire a query, this is from where you will go ahead and process that from the presentation layer. Now, when you process it from the presentation layer, what happens is that particular query is basically brought into the application layer. From the presentation layer, your data goes, or your query goes into the application layer. At the application layer, you will go ahead and cleanse your, basically you will check what kind of data is needed for that query to respond. So based on the query, or basically you will simplify the query and then you will go ahead and fetch your data from the database. So there is a database fetch that happens here. You go into the database, search for the data location. You will have to look through the segments, the sectors, and then bring that data back into the application layer. Then that specific set of data is cleansed, transformed, and then the results are sent back into the presentation layer. That is what happens on a three-tier architecture. All right. Hana also has a three-tier architecture. Basically, just like how you have this particular picture, Hana also has a database. Hana also has an application layer. Hana also has a presentation layer. Right? So from a database, application, and presentation layer, let's see how it is different in terms of our regular BW environment. Now, the application layer allows us to go ahead and process our data at this level, but if you have the ability, like in case you want to go ahead and do a join, or in case you want to do some transformation, if your data is huge, sometimes we use something called as the push-down mechanism. If you're an ETL guy, you will understand that. A push-down mechanism basically allows you to, instead of doing it at the application level, you will push down that query directly onto the database, process it there, and bring it to the application layer. The reason why you do that is because processing inside the database is faster than doing it at the application layer in some cases. Let's say you want to join two tables which have over 100,000 rows. Then doing that at the database level is simpler than doing it at the application level. So what we do is we do a push down into the database. Now Hana has the entire process pushed down into the database. Means what happens inside Hana is all your calculation transformation is happening here at the database layer, right? So whenever you get a query from the presentation layer, the application layer takes that and then it goes directly into the database. So there is no fetching into the application layer, transformation, cleansing, all that is not there at the application layer. All the calculation happens at the database layer. The results are just sent into the application layer, which are sent back to the presentation layer. So all that stress of transforming data, simplifying queries, and cleansing data, all of that is not available at the application layer. It is less burdened with all of that. All its work is to basically take the result set and put it at the presentation layer, take the query and send it to the database. That is what the application layer is for. You could say it almost bypasses the application layer. So all the processing happens at the database itself. So you will find that the database itself is the RAM, which is 300,000 times faster than our regular hard drive on which our regular databases are. And then there is no application layer. So the processing speed is extremely high. To leverage this speed and have the ability to present our data at real time to the end user, you need to have an ETL tool which is also able to process your data from your transaction system into Hana at real time at least. And so we will find that a lot of times we use SAP's SLT server or business objects data services system to basically bring data into Hana at real time. Another thing that you will find in terms of comparison between BW and HANA is that you have a layering technology in terms of BW, where you have the first layer of entry of data as the PSA, then you have a write optimized DSO, then you have a standard DSO, then you have an info queue, then you have a multi-provider, and then on top of that you have bits. Right? And majority of times you find that the data is physically stored. In PSA, data is physically stored. In write optimized, data is physically stored. In standard, you have data physically stored. In InfoQ, data is pretty similar. Probably you might be doing some transformation, but the data is stored in different layers in here. It's going to occupy more space. It's going to put more pressure on the database and the application layer itself. But we all know it has one of the best modeling features of extended start schema and all that. But you will find that your data is pretty redundant across all of these individual components. Now in HANA, they have tried to rectify that by having only one layer of persistence. There is only one persistence layer, and on top of that, just like how you have models, they also have models. One of the models is the attribute view. In comparison with the InfoCube, they have something called as the analytic view. And for complex joins, they have something else called as the calculation views. I hope you understand this term called as view. A view is something that is designed based on join conditions, right? If you have to design a view, you will need to understand what are joins, right? And joins are basically something that are done directly on the database tables and not on anything else. So based on whatever is the join condition and also the cardinality that you have proposed, you will have the connections made between tables, but those tables are only there at the persistence layer. Anything above that is a view, which basically doesn't need for you to have multiple or redundant layering of data physically stored. Since it's a view, it's just a structure. It doesn't have physically any data. It consumes it from the underlying database table. But the view itself will not physically hold the data at all. And so the advantage is that you will have only one version and one layer of that information across the entire SAP HANA system. So it is lesser in terms of burden for the system in comparison with BW systems. All right. And these are straight star joins or star schema models and not extended star schema. So the system is pretty transparent, and your processing has the ability for very high fast processing. The servers are equipped with that kind of a power, and the most optimized usage is handled by the software itself. Right. So this is a very huge advantage in terms of what we are trying to do in HANA over what we have been doing in BW. Right. Now, taking this piece, what we are trying to do is we are trying to bring together both of these technologies for the advantage, which will bring us to using BW on HANA and then BW with HANA. BW on HANA basically means you need to have a BW application and use an underlying HANA database. Meaning, the BW application is going to run now with the underlying database, which is HANA. Okay. The next thing is BW with HANA, or the addition of BW on HANA is called as BW on the Eclipse mode, where we are trying to go ahead and process and work on BW on the Eclipse platform, which is on the HANA Studio. So basically what we will be doing here is we will go ahead and work on BW on the HANA Studio itself. Okay. Now, by doing these two, we have a lot of differences that come with our regular BW system. One of the main reasons for that is that HANA supports only star schema modeling, and BW supports only extended star schema. So what is the difference here is, now since HANA cannot support extended star schema, the BW application has been modified to accommodate HANA and use only star schema modeling. So you will find that the BW application, you will have changes in terms of info cubes, in terms of DSOs, and these are basically called as HANA optimized info cubes, HANA optimized DSOs, HANA optimized write optimized DSOs, and they have a different way of modeling. The Eclipse mode, basically, once you get to the Eclipse mode, you will find that the design of the DSOs and the design of the info cubes are pretty similar, because you're not working on the extended star schema anymore, you're just using star schema models. And so this brought about a new set of objects called as the advanced DSOs, the ODS view, and the composite provider. Now these are something that we can create from the Eclipse side, but the data population will happen from the BW side or either HANA side. All right. So a gist of some of the major features that you will find is, when you're using BW on HANA, you will need to understand the architecture of what has changed on the underlying side of creating input cubes, DSOs, and all of these. In terms of understanding the content of BW on HANA from an Eclipse perspective, we need to understand what are these objects. Let's say I say advanced DSO. What is it substituting from a regular DSO, from a regular info cube? The advanced DSO substitutes basically everything that is there on the BW front. It is used in terms of direct update DSO, write optimize update DSO, standard DSO, and info queue. It is one solution for all the four in one go. The ODS view is something that is used across the system, and the composite provider is one solution where you have the solution for multi-provider info set, all in one object itself. So these kind of advantages are leveraged basically because we have the ability for using HANA as an underlying database. Now, even if you're using HANA as an underlying database, your processing will be fast, but how do you get the advantage of processing data at real time? Now here, we have seen in the previous picture where HANA is an appliance, right? And I told you at the heart of HANA, it is also called as a database. The HANA system itself is a database. Though you call it as an appliance, at the heart of it, it is an in-memory database. And in this picture, you can see that I also have a scenario where I could use Oracle, SQL, or HANA. So let's say if you're using BW on HANA, which means you have a BW application on top of HANA. If you have a little understanding about database, HANA is a database I told you, and there are multiple schemas. So if I have schema 1 and schema 2, I can work with the native HANA on schema 1, but I can use schema 2 for my BW on HANA, which basically means that whenever you create something in the BW side, you have the ability to directly see that from the HANA side, because you're working on the same system, on the same database, but on a different schema. And that schema is used under the BW system. Whenever you are processing data here in BW, the data goes into the underlying schema, which means you have the ability to see that from HANA. For the first time in SAP's history, we have the ability to use data directly from the underlying database. Since we have the SAP HANA Studio, you have the ability to see the data that is processed into the underlying database. And we could directly work with that information as well. So what we are going to do now is, on the other front, if I populate data into the HANA directly at a real-time solution, can I consume that directly into BW, which basically reduces the entire process time here. So we're going to look at some of those scenarios where we can combine BW objects and HANA objects as well, right? So the ability for BW on HANA as a scope is increasing from using regular objects to consuming HANA and real-time information directly on BW objects. All right. So this is a gist of what we are going to cover. And for us to understand that, we need to understand the architecture of HANA. What is there in HANA? What is different in terms of HANA? How processing happens? What is column store? What is multi-core architecture? These kind of things we need to understand first. Then we will understand the kind of models that we build in HANA in terms of attribute views, analytic views, calculation views, how do we create joins and all of that. And once we understand that, then we will be able to consume the BW part more easily. All right. So at this point, do you guys have any questions? Srinivas, Raj.
Yeah, I have a question like, so when is it like the projects like it's like partially we work on BW on HANA and BW with HANA, or it will be like directly with only with one instance? Either it is like a BW on HANA or BW with HANA.
So this is how it works. Let me show you a little. Now, for a regular work consumption, you have, like instead of BW on the SAP logon pad, you have BW on HANA. You could click on BW on HANA, okay, and I could log into the regular system. RS1, I hope you know this.
Yeah.
And you get to the BW application. All right? Right. And I think you're aware of this screen. So if you go into the settings, or if you go into the system, you go into status, you will find that you are on the HANA database. Okay? Yeah. This is the simplest example of BW on HANA. Right? But let's say I want to go into BW edition.
One question. Emmanuel here. So it's like BW on HANA means like it is completely on the database, is completely on the it's on HANA database, not RDBMS database. You mean?
That's right. That's right.
But like how this is possible, because HANA is like a row-based database, right? Column-based. But when it comes to original BW, that was with a row-based database.
That's why I told you the changes have been made on the BW application to accommodate HANA data.
Okay. Right. Maybe I may be asking too depth answer like at this point of time. Maybe in detail when we go to in the course you may be explaining.
Sure. Yeah. So the other one, which is the edition on HANA, you can't work on this side. You will have to go into the HANA Studio. this is the interface for you to work on the BW on HANA system, right? So
Right.
here you have Windows, you go into perspective, and then you get to the BW modeling side.
Okay.
Now here, this basically translates or brings about everything that is there on your BW application directly here. All your info areas, everything is available here. You
Okay.
can see all DSOs and everything here. And from this side, you can go ahead and create three major objects: the DSOs, the composite providers, and the ODSP. Apart from that, you also can create info objects.
And I have a question, like, so is the same system, like, suppose in the same client with same application, can use both of them, BW on HANA and BW with HANA?
Right, right. So here I'm saying I'm on BW with HANA, which is basically the edition on HANA. And if I want to go ahead and use, let's say, the BW system also, I can use it side by side. So I can go into RSA1 here and directly use it from here. And here I have the edition on HANA.
Okay.
Okay. We will talk in the future about how this is an advantage.
No, sorry, Emmanuel, my question is, some of the like DSOs, can we pick it up from the original BW on HANA, and some of them with a new ODS designed for
Yes.
HANA?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
The objects that you see here will be available in the edition on HANA. The objects that you see here will be available in BW on HANA. You can import and export objects as well.
Okay.
Okay. This is just a picture of what we will be seeing, but I'll be explaining it to you in detail as we go along.
Sure.
All right. So, Rajesh, Lorenzo, Mahan, Ramarao, any questions, guys?
Yeah, I have a question. Like, whole course, how many like hours, how many days it will take? It was mentioned 42 to 45 hours, but daily 1 hour or 2 hours base?
For the beginning, we probably will start off today by 1 hour. Then we will move it to an hour and a half and 2 hours as we go along. Probably by day after tomorrow, we should be doing an hour and a half or 2 hours.
Okay.
Right. All right. So, any other questions, anybody? All right. If you don't have any questions, so once
Emmanuel, I have a question. Earlier, I attended for one of other companies. I don't remember, long time back. They provided me the like system access. Like in the middle, like I closed it. The reason is they have installed SAP HANA Studio on remote desktop, so it was not working properly. How is the online access perspective? I'm completely satisfied with your training part. I don't have an issue like the way you're teaching, but system access is also important thing, right?
Yeah, the server will be available 24/7. You don't have any restrictions. You could use it. We have a standby team. In case of any issues, you will be intimated in case there is any maintenance on a weekend or something. But
Okay.
apart from that, you will not have any issues with the server because there are close to around 150 people working on this server. So we cannot.
Okay. So it is a completely like highest RAM capacity server, right?
That's right.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
All right, guys. So once this session is complete, if you have any questions, you could go ahead and speak to Kalyan, who's basically organizing these trainings. Let me just give you his number. So this is his number, 201-478-8484 if you are in the US. If you are in India, you can call on this number. And you can reach us at techietraining or techietraining.com. Once this particular session is complete, in another half an hour's time or 1 hour's time, you will have an email from Techie Training with this recorded session, right? So in case you want to listen to this session again, you can download this session and then you have the ability to listen. Okay. So if you register, you will have organizer access. Today I have manually unmuted all of you so that you can ask questions, but usually it is on muted mode. So, but once you have an organizer access, you can unmute yourself whenever you want, and you can go ahead and record the session on your own. You don't have to depend on us to send you a recording. Okay. But in case you miss a session or something, you can request them, they'll send it to you. All right. So I will see you all tomorrow, same time, and we'll be doing a longer session tomorrow. And in case you are interested in this training, and if you're willing to spend a little time to practice once this session is complete, and if you're serious about this training, you can register with us, and we will be able to help you pursue your BW on Hana. All right. Once again, thanks for your time. This is Emmanuel signing off.
Emmanuel, last question, like how many is most of the like BW projects, like out of BW projects, they are moving into the BW on HANA?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, guys. I'll see you in tomorrow's session. Bye for now.
Thanks.
Thank you.